you realize that life doesn't have to be what you thought it was. It can be an adventure. It can be a joy. It can be a unique expression of you. You don't have to be a clone of a system just like everyone else. And it's only when the bubble bursts you realize you've been in one. Because this world seems so real in the way it seems through the five senses. But once the bubble bursts and you connect with out there, you realize what a prison you've been in. And it's been a mind prison. And the mind prison is creating what we perceive, what we experience as a physical prison. But everything is a mind prison. And we need to take our minds back and break out of this prison cell of the five senses. And then the walls of this prison, this mind prison, will fall. Because it's like the Buddha is quoted as saying, the mind that perceives limitation is the limitation. The mind that perceives little me is the little me. They're not real. They're what you perceive them to be. What you perceive, you believe. What you believe, you experience. You change your perception. You change your self-identity. Drop all the human labels, the IMRs as I call them, and realize they're just experiences. What you are is the consciousness, ultimately all consciousness, that's having that experience. And when you realize that, you expand as your self-identity expands into I am consciousness. So the swathe of possibility and probability, the field of consciousness all around us, so you go deeper and deeper and deeper into that. And suddenly you can manifest a much greater range of possibility and probability. That's why when people start to awaken, they notice all this synchronicity in their life. My God, fancy seeing you here. What's the chances of that? It wasn't happening before. It wasn't happening before because and this is one of the great truths that this cult wants to keep from us, because it knows this. Your perception is a frequency. Every time we think, every time we feel, we're generating a frequency depending and relating to those thoughts and those emotions. And so what we call perception is actually the sum total of that field generated by our emotions and by our thoughts and by the heart if we open it. And so if we think of ourselves in limited terms, in little me terms, in I must do what I'm told terms, then that is a self-identity, a perception based on limitation. And so therefore, you're living in a tiny bubble of perception, a limited bubble of perception, a limited frequency band of perception, because that's your perception of you. So it expresses itself energetically and in terms of frequency. And so you're interacting with the field of possibility and probability within that narrow band in which you perceive yourself, in which you perceive the I. Little me, I have no power, I must follow. But when you expand your awareness, you expand your self-identity into I am all that is, has been, and ever can be, having a human experience, then that expansion of self-identity expands the field that you're operating on. It expands the frequency, it expands the scale. Now you're interacting with possibility and probability in a much, much greater range. And thus, synchronicity comes into your life. Bits of luck. I was with someone recently. They came over to see me. She was there about 3 days, and she was laughing in the end, because every time we went somewhere and there's a big flow of parked cars, both sides of the road, there would be a gap in the parked cars outside where we were going, and I was straight in. And other times, you're coming along and there's no space. And then somebody just pulls out in front of you and you're in. Now, these are little things, but because our perceptions become our reality, you can manifest these things. Because this is not a solid world. This is an energetic world, a holographic world that's malleable. You can change it. And this cult knows that our perceptions become our experience reality. This is the big truth. Why do they call them secret societies? Because they're keeping secrets, and they keep these secrets at the deepest levels. So they know that if they can, through control of information, control of the education system, control of the media and so on, if they can program your perception, they can dictate your experience, because they know that whatever your perception is will create your experience. And the reason they don't want us to know that, obviously, is because that gives us the power back. Change my perception, change my life. What they want you to think is we're living in a random, solid, physical world in which everything is just happening by accident, when actually it's being created by the perceptions of the population. They know that. We control perception, we control the world. We take it back, their control of the world is over. That's the level this is going to change.